The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
When President Obama announced he was unilaterally delaying the employer mandate in Obamacare, he ticked off a lot of Republicans, and among them, Congressman Scott Garrett of New Jersey. Here's the congressman earlier this month explaining why he takes issue with the president's delay.
The president is basically picking and chooses on his own bill, the Affordable Health Care Act, also known as Obamacare, which sections he wants to implement and which sections he does not want to implement. No president has that authority to do so. Once a law is signed into law, he has to, under the Constitution, faithfully execute that law.
Well, New York Times political reporter Jackie Colmes asked the president last week whether he consulted White House attorneys before he delayed the mandate. Here's what the president said, quote, "If Congress thinks what I've done is inappropriate or wrong in some fashion, they're free to make that case. But there's not an action that I take that you don't have some folks in Congress who say that I'm usurping my authority. Some of those folks think I usurp my authority by having the gall to win the presidency. And I don't think it's a secret that that's a secret. But ultimately, I'm not concerned about their opinions. Very few of them, by the way," he said, "are lawyers, much less constitutional lawyers." Really, Mr. President? You imply you're a constitutional lawyer, an authority on the issue, and that attorneys are rare commodities in Congress. To put that into some context and bring everybody back to reality, there are more than 1.2 million attorneys licensed in this country. That's a lot of folks. Some say way too many. Nearly a third of the House, Mr. President, are attorneys, just like you. And in the Senate, my goodness, it's almost half of the Senate is made up of attorneys, 45 senators. And you should have known that because you spent a little time there, didn't you? And Congressman Garrett, well, guess what, Mr. President? He earned his law degree way back in 1984. As for you being an authority, we are sure you are. We looked hard at your resume, Mr. President, a lecturer at the University of Chicago Law School, 92 to 96, a senior lecturer at the University of Chicago Law School from 96 to 2004, teaching 3 courses a year. Of course, by 1997, you were a state senator, which prevented you from teaching full-time. That's 12 years of teaching at the University of Chicago Law School. But according to the New York Times, you didn't publish a single article on constitutional law while at the University of Chicago studying and teaching the Constitution. 0. Let me just add that up again. That's a 0. It doesn't exactly rival Harvard's Lawrence Tribe, do you think, Mr. President? So very simply, we don't know where you get off questioning the credentials of those in Congress who question your conduct under the Constitution. I personally would like to see fewer attorneys on Capitol Hill, certainly, and maybe one fewer, at least at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, is something that would be, well, persuasive to many.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.